Hi, fourth graders. This is Miss Ellis, and today I am going to teach you lesson 612. Today, students will add and subtract fractions and mixed numbers with like denominators to solve number stories. You may remember adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numbers in the past, so this is kind of like a review, except we will be adding number stories to our equations. The first thing we want to complete is our mental math. I know that many of you have your slates in school still, so for mental math today, you can use a piece of paper and a pencil. For these equations, you're going to be filling in the blanks with greater than, less than, or equal to. Remember that you don't need to write down the whole equation. For these problems, you can just write the symbol down. Remember, mental math is supposed to be quick in your head, so let's get started. The first one, 6/10 is blank, then 9/10. So you're writing greater than, less than, or equal to. The second problem, 55/100 is blank, then 65/100. The third problem, 34/100 is blank, then 35/100. All right, I hope you recorded your answers. Let's check. In our first problem, 6/10 is less than 9/10. Remember, 6/10 is closer to a half and 9/10 is almost a whole. In our second problem, 55/100 is less than 65/100. In our third problem, 34/100 is less than 35/100. That should have been pretty easy. Let's move on to a harder slide. All right, our next page for mental math. 84/100 is blank, then 87/100. 44/100 is blank, then 4/10. 37/100 is blank, then 40/100. Write down your symbols. Let's check our answers. For the first one, 84/100 is less than 87/100. That should be pretty easy. We know that 84 is less than 87. For the second one, 44/100 is greater than 4/10. What I like to do when I see hundreds and tenths is I like to make my tenths into hundreds. Now I can easily see that 44/100 is greater than 40/100. And for the third one, 37/100 is less than 40/100. All right, the third slide gets a little harder. Let's check it out. 55/100 is blank, then 8/10. 74/100 is blank, then 8. 9/10 is blank, then 89/100. All right, write down your symbol. Let's check our answers. For the first one, 55/100 is less than 8/10. So remember what I like to do when I see hundreds and tenths? I like to make my tenths into hundreds by adding a 0. So now I can easily see that 55/100 is less than 80/100, which is equivalent to 8/10. 74/100 is less than 8 wholes. Excuse me. All right, so I have 8 wholes. 74/100 isn't even 1 whole. So of course, it's less than 8 wholes. And then for a third problem, 9/10 is greater than 89/100. So remember, I like to add my 0. 90/100 is greater than 89/100. All right, math message. Liam is choosing between 2 school backpacks. The black one weighs 1 5/8 pounds. The blue one weighs 2 1/8 pounds. Which one weighs more? How much more? All right, so let's look at this problem. Liam is choosing between 2 school backpacks. The black one weighs 1 5/8 pounds. The blue one weighs 2 1/8 pounds. Which one weighs more? Well, we know that 2 1/8 is greater than 1 5/8. We don't even need to do any calculations to figure that out. So we already know that the blue one weighs more. How much more? I can't figure that out by just looking at that problem. So what number model do I need to figure out how much more the blue one weighs than the black one? So I am going to do the problem. I can actually do two different problems here. I can do 2 1/8 minus 1 5/8 equals B for backpack. Or I can do 1 5/8 plus B equals 2 1/8. So let's work on solving this equation. I'm going to do the subtraction because that sometimes just makes more sense to me. Oops. Okay, so 2 1/8 minus 1 5/8. I don't know why that 1 5/8 looks a little off. So what I like to do, there's a few things we can do. But the first thing I like to do is rewrite my equation. One strategy that I like to use is I like to turn mixed numbers into an equivalent fraction. So one way I can do that is I can think of 2 1/8 as 1 plus 1 plus 1/8, which is the same as 8/8 plus 8/8 plus 1/8. And then if I add these, I get 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17. So 2 1/8 is equivalent to 17/8. And then 1 5/8 is the same as saying 1 is equivalent to, ooh, that's a sideways 8. 8/8 plus 5/8, which equals, we're going to drop it down here because we didn't have to break down the holes like in this one. So 8/8 plus 5/8 is the same as 13/8. So 17 minus 13 is 4. And then I keep my denominator as 8. So my answer is 4/8. So in this strategy, I renamed my mixed numbers into equivalent fractions. Remember a little trick we did if we want to do the super fast, right? We multiply the denominator by the whole number, and then we add to get our equivalent fraction. So 8 times 2 is 16, plus 1 is 17. That's a super fast way we could get 17/8. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 5. So 8 plus 5 is 13. We always keep the same denominator as 13/8. Right, that's our little trick, but we need to know where that comes from. So this is how we break it down. Okay? Another way we could do this is by decomposing the fraction. Kind of similar to what we just did, but a little different. So 2 1/8 minus 1 5/8. Now when I subtract mixed numbers, remember I can't subtract a whole number by a fraction. So I can only subtract a whole number from a whole number, and a fraction from a fraction. So I could do 2 minus 1 is 1. Great, everything looks good there. 1/8 minus 5/8. That's when something goes in my head, ding, 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 something's wrong, because I cannot subtract a smaller fraction from a larger fraction. So I need to change something here. So I can decompose this kind of like I did here. Okay, I can say 2 1/8 is the same as 1 plus 1 plus 1/8. Okay, and then I could, since I know there's a 1, I can keep this 1. I can turn this 1 into 8/8. Plus 1/8. So 2/8 is also equivalent to 8 to 1 and 9/8. And then I'm going to drop this down. Minus 1 and 5/8. So now I can easily subtract my whole numbers. 1 minus 1 is 0. 9, subtract my fractions. 9 minus 5 is 4. And then I keep always my same denominator is 8. And remember, we don't need this 0 if it's our whole number. So my answer is 4/8. So if I am turning the mixed numbers into equivalent fractions, or I'm decomposing the fractions, I'm still going to get the same answer as 4/8. Okay, so which one weighs more? The blue one. 4/8 pounds more than the black one, and then here are equations. So we can break it up. Another way we could do this is we can subtract by counting up. So 1 and 5/8, and I know 5/8 plus 3/8 equals 2. Then I need another 1/8 to get 2 and 1/8. So 3/8 plus 1/8 is 4/8. We can replace each mixed number with an equivalent fractions. That's what I just showed you, or you can use fraction circles. All right, let's move on to a new problem. Omar is choosing between two backpacks. The green one, let me get my pen, weighs 1 6/8. The gray one weighs 7/8 of a pound more than the green one. How much does the gray backpack weigh? So this time I'm trying to solve a different equation. I'm not trying to figure out how much the gray one weighs by subtracting. I know that I have to add 7/8 of a pound to the green backpack to find out the weight of the gray backpack. So my equation is going to be 1 and 6/8 plus 7/8, oh goodness, equals B for backpack. So remember our strategies: we can decompose the fraction, decompose the mixed number, or replace the mixed number with an equivalent fraction. Okay, thankfully I can rewrite it here because that was a little messy. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to write it over. And I'm going to decompose it this time. Okay, so I know 1 6/8 is the same as saying 1 whole is 8/8, and I'm always paying attention to my denominator because that's going to tell me the whole. So this is 8ths, so I know 1 whole is 8/8 plus 6/8, which is equal to 14/8 plus 7/8, which equals 21/8. And if I want to turn that number into a mixed number, I'm going to say how many times does 8 go into 21? So 8, 16, 8 times 2 is 16, so 2. How many do I have left over? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 5 left over. 2 and 5 eighths, right? And if we want to check it with my little trick, 8 times 2 is 16, plus 5 is 21 eighths. So I know that this is correct. Okay, so you could decompose the fraction. That's what we just did. Decompose 7 eighths into the sum of 2 eighths and 5 eighths. Add 2 eighths to 1 and 6 eighths to make 2 wholes. 2 plus 5 eighths equals 2 and 5 eighths. Decompose the mixed number. That's actually the one we did. Or we can replace the number with an equivalent fraction. That's what I showed you in the last problem. How could you record your thinking with fraction names? So this is the same as saying 14 eighths plus 7 eighths equals 21 eighths. Okay, if we're writing it out in words. Okay, now let's talk about how this problem that we just solved is both similar and different from the math message problem. In both number stories, students are comparing the weights of 2 backpacks. In the math message, the weights of the 2 backpacks are known. The difference in their weights is unknown. In this problem, the weight of one backpack and the difference in weight between the two are known. The weight of the other backpack is unknown. The math message problem was solved with subtraction. This problem was solved with addition. So we really need to read the problem carefully, underline or highlight important information, and understand what the problem is asking first before we start to solve, so we know what we are looking for. Okay, now I'm not going to play these videos right now just to keep this lesson short, but I'm going to post this lesson plus the PowerPoint like we did for the previous weeks. And the PowerPoint you can look at kind of at your own pace if you just want to review this lesson. And then it has 2 videos in it, renaming mixed numbers and subtracting mixed numbers with like denominators. So check that out if you would like a review. After you do that and you review all the materials, you're going to practice. And then don't forget to hand in your exit ticket for lesson 612 after you finish reviewing this lesson. Okay, boys and girls, you did a great job. Thank you for viewing my lesson. Please let me, Mrs. Kempen, Mrs. Coe, know if you have any questions. Bye.